Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here on time so we could resume the trial promptly this morning. Cross-examination, Mr. Woolridge? Yes, Your Honor. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Sullivan. How are you? I'm alright. How about yourself? I'm okay. Did you get any sleep last night? No. Not too much? Nah, I really didn't. Okay. Well, I'm going to ask you a series of questions and let me know if there's any of them that give you any concern. Like yesterday, there were a few you didn't want to answer. Can you do that for me? Alright. Thank you. First thing I would like to talk about is what you were charged with. I understand that a young woman you were friends with was shot. Is that right? She was. And that was some kind of a drive-by shooting or something like that? Correct. Yeah. What was her name? Toot. Say it again. Toot. What's her real name? I don't know. Do you spell it T-O-O-K? T-O-O-T. T-O-O-T. Okay, thank you. Can you give the jury any background on what happened to Toot? Basically, just she was in the wrong spot at the wrong time. Just basically, something was going on during the time being, and we were standing out there spectating, and the car got shot up. The car that I was driving ended up getting hit. She was in the back seat, and everybody else ducked. She just got hit. You know what I mean? So, I drove her to the hospital. You drove her to the hospital? Yeah, I drove her to the hospital. And she was a good friend of yours, right? Yeah, she was a pretty good friend. And that's what led you to attempt to retaliate? Nah. No? No. I understood that you were charged with, was it 3 counts? Was it attempted murder? Is that what you were charged with? Yes. Was that related to Toot at all? It wasn't. Okay. I'm sorry, I misunderstood that. As far as Toot goes, Mr. Clayton actually went to her funeral, right? I don't even know who Clayton is. You don't know KK? Okay, alright, that sounds better. Yes. That's how you know Kevin Clayton? Yeah. As KK? Okay. Mr. Clayton, KK, he actually went to her funeral in South Carolina, right? Yeah, he did. You guys knew each other because you and Toot and sometimes Toot, not always, but you guys would come in town every couple of weeks and party and things like that, right? Yeah. Okay. Now, when you first started testifying yesterday, you talked a little bit about counterfeit money. Do you remember that testimony? Yeah, I remember that. And I want you to tell me if my understanding is wrong. Okay? Alright. My question for you is that you came to Atlanta and you mentioned counterfeit money in a meeting when you and KK were kicking it, right? Nah. No. I ain't never mentioned it. You never mentioned counterfeit money to Mr. Clayton? Nah. Okay. Thank you very much. And so, because you've never mentioned any counterfeit money issues like that, of course, you never planned anything like that with Mr. Clayton, right? I never planned it. No, not me personally. Right. It was really just, well, who did you mention counterfeit money to? Say, who did I mention it to? Yeah. Who did? Okay. Basically, what it is, like I say, we always travel in a group when we come down here. And in a part of the group where I was in, this is what came up. So when it came up, I had the option whether if I wanted to invest into that or not. Right. So it was just an idea that people kind of talked about a little bit. It ain't no idea. It happened. It did happen? Yeah. Okay. But Mr. Kevin Clayton, or KK, wasn't in any way involved in that, right? That's what we set it up with. Well, I thought you just said a moment ago that you didn't talk to KK about this. Me, personally, no. Somebody else? If me and you together and you negotiate the deal, right, of what's going on and I got the option to opt in, then alright, cool. Okay. So it was somebody else that you work with, of course, to effectuate the deal? Yeah. We was all there together. Okay. Understood. So Mr. Clayton didn't give you any counterfeit money, right? He supplied it to us. He didn't give you anything? He didn't give it to me directly, but we was there. You're saying the organization gave you something, right? Nah. I can't say the organization. We went through him. But didn't a moment ago, you just said you didn't even talk to him about? Yeah, you're right. I didn't personally talk to him. You're right. So you're saying somebody else talked to him? Yeah, who he was with. And who was that? Here we go again. Black. Do you know his real name? Nope. Where is he from? From my city. Greenville? Yep. Is he incarcerated right now? I don't think so. Do you know his address? Nope. Do you know his phone number? Nope. Is this one of those questions that make you feel a little uncomfortable talking about? Black? I mean, I ain't gonna really just say feel uncomfortable, but I done learned yesterday from that. So, yeah, you don't particularly want Black to get in trouble, right? Nah. Okay. Now, you testified yesterday that a lot of what you talked about when you came to Atlanta was politicking. Do you remember that? Yeah. Politicking, that's just kind of just kicking it, right? Yeah. You're just talking about who's in charge, what's going on with the organization, with growth and development, right? Ain't necessarily got to be that when you politic. Politic can just be anything in general. That can be a part of the conversation. But, okay. You talked about Chicago, just talking about what's going on, right? I ain't just particularly talking about Chicago, nah. But if something goes on to the fact of the matter that we gotta talk about that, then yeah. But, nah. Okay. Talk about music a little bit? Yeah. Now, some music may be discussed. A lot of your conversations with Mr. Clayton, with KK, has been about music, right? Could be. You see, this is my understanding with him. This is how we go. Alright. When I come down here, I'm almost like the fly on the wall. Everybody else is introducing me to these people. I had just came out of prison during these times, so I didn't really know these people. We didn't make acquaintances too much. We wasn't really just buddies to the fact of the matter that we just hung around like that, real close, tight meeting, family. Nothing like that right there. We only make acquaintances during these times when we come down to the city because we have to call before we come down here to let someone else know that, hey, yo, look, we coming in your area. This is where it is. So we got to remain in some type of contact, just period. So when we come down here, they'll link up and, we go about how we go about. As far as really just, hey, yo, man, I'm fixing to come and hang out with you. Nah, it's always going to be the fact of the matter that I'm the driver. So I'm going to drive from state to state, city to city. If y'all say, hey, yo, look, we fixing to go to Tennessee. We fixing to go to Texas. Whatever, yo, I like to drive. So guess what? Yeah, I'm driving. Let's go. And I'm going to drive. Okay, so that's fine. A lot of what you did talk about, at some point you learned KK was a rapper, right? Yeah, of course. Of course. You saw his social media? Yeah. You saw his videos and things like that? Yeah. And so from time to time you guys would talk about the rap business, right? I'll be amongst the conversation. What's that? I'll be amongst the conversation. Sure. And it's kind of easy for people to say they know KK because of his social media presence, right? You've got a bunch of Facebook friends and Instagram friends and stuff. You can't say you know somebody through social media. If that's the case, we would say we know a lot of people. Yeah, that's kind of true. But it's kind of easy for... Your Honor, I'm going to object to all the commentary. No comments, Mr. Woolridge. Yes, Your Honor. It's very easy. When you have pictures of somebody on Instagram and pictures on Facebook, it's very easy to... And you've spent time talking to them, it's very easy for you to say that you know a guy, right? Well, actually, I mean, it would be easy. But you see, I done been to mixtape parties, album release parties. So, for me to know him, it ain't just come through social media. Sure. You know what I mean? So yeah, that ain't, people could use that. You probably got people that say there's a difference with knowing somebody and knowing of them. Right. And so a lot of people know of Kevin Clayton. They know of KK. They could know of him. Yeah. They don't necessarily know him. They ain't gotta know him. And so your interactions with him has been significantly about music, about rap, about the different mixtape parties and things like that. It can go into that area. Now, you understand that he kind of does like gangster rap, right? He does street rhymes. Yeah. Is that fair to say? Yeah. Yeah. And when you do that kind of thing, you need to convey an image of toughness. You put guns in your videos and masks in your videos and things like that, right? It can happen, yes. It can happen. And so, KK has a lot of videos like that where he's trying to portray an image of toughness, right? Could be. Now, yesterday, you mentioned that growth and development doesn't sell drugs, doesn't do drugs, but sometimes people within the organization can act on their own, right? Correct. You can't stop people from going on their own little frolics and their own little activities, right? Correct. Now, in growth and development, if somebody does something on their own outside of the gang structure and you don't know about it, what can you do to stop it? You can't do nothing about what you don't know. But see, there's laws to the point where one that I'm going to let you know about is what they call abuse of authority. All right. Another one is going to be the nation work is different from personal work. All right. So what you do in your personal time and personal business is what you do. Don't let it interfere with what goes on within the nation. We can't control what you do when you do what you do. If we know about it, we can say something about it. But at the same time, when you got certain people that's in the positions of power, you got people that abuse their authority. Now, no one understands that people that abuse their authority, they can be dealt with. But if you don't report it, if you don't have a mind frame to know and understand how they actually go above to say, hey, yo, look, this is not right. If I tell you, yo, go shoot such and such, you ain't got to do that. If you do that, you did it on your own. Right. That's exactly what leads me to my next question. You're talking about people of authority abusing authority, but sometimes you get people with no authority that act on their own also, right? Correct. And if your organization, if somebody acts out on their own, what recourse is there to punish them? Say that word again that you just said. Recourse. I don't know what that means. Break that down. What do you do to punish them if they act on their own? I mean, we ain't gonna hold your hand, but it's gonna reflect as in like what we would do if they acted on their own. It depends. Does it reflect back on the nation what you do? I don't know, man. It could be, I guess, a variety of different things. I can't really just say. I ain't never been in a situation where we ain't really trying to govern you on your own personal time. If it ain't relating to the actual nation, then you kind of like on your own. You know what I mean? You go do something, you're going to get locked up, and if it's not pertaining to the nation, we don't have to come and get you out of jail. But if you did something that was nation business, yeah, we'll come get you out of jail. But I can't really just say, what somebody would do. I don't know what they would do down here because no one understands. I'm in Carolina, and this is Georgia. They're going to run their in-house thing how they run their in-house things, and we're going to do it differently up there. During the course of your interactions with the Georgia organization, did you ever commit any crimes, any murders, robberies, rapes, anything like that here? Nah. Did anybody in your organization ever do that? In my organization here in Georgia? Yes, sir. Just as far as you know. Nah, not in Georgia that I know of. That I came down here with. Nah. And you can't say My understanding is that you don't really know much of anything about what type of criminal activities or even legal activities that Growth and Development or the Gangster Disciples are doing in Georgia, right? Only the ones that I even dare to listen here for. Yes, sir, right. Only the ones that you know of? Only the ones. And you've described those already in your testimony. Already. Nothing else. Okay. So, Ms. Rogers, if you could please pull up Government Exhibit 399. Mr. Sullivan, do you have that exhibit on your monitor in front of you? I do. Okay. Do you see the names on the bottom of that exhibit? That should be about 1 through 16. I see 13. 1 through 13. 1 through 13. Yes, sir. If you could turn your attention to number 3, or excuse me, number 2, the Tyrone Stewart shooting. Do you see that? Number 3? Number 2, sir. Oh, number 2. Yeah, I see that right there. You don't have any information at all that would connect Mr. Kevin Clayton to that shooting, do you? I don't even know who this kid is or where this area actually is at. Like, you can't show me no landmark and ask me, like that right there to identify that. Well, I'm not worried about the landmarks. What we're doing is showing you this map and asking you if you have any information about this. Nah. I don't know who that is. Nah. And then you see number 3 there, the Jermaine Higgins shooting. I'm going to ask you the same question about that. You don't know anything about that shooting, do you? No, I don't. Okay. And I'm not going to go through every one of those, but if you could just scan those and just read over them. And my question for you when you're finished looking at those is, you don't have any information that would link Mr. Kevin Clayton to any of the shootings, killings, robberies, or carjackings on that document, right? No, I don't. Because I only had been out for 2, which would have been number 2 and number 3. And anything after that right there, I was in prison. Yes, sir. So yeah, you wouldn't know? I would not. And other than maybe smoking a little bit of weed, you don't have any information that would connect Mr. Kevin Clayton to any sort of drug crime either, right? Oh, yeah. I mean, like, it depends on what you want to, label it as. You see, it's like this. What I didn't like one time before is I was down here with some people that stayed down here that came from my state. And during the process of this, something took place, but when it took place, they was like, okay, we got to break KK off this. And I'm like, we got to do what? We got to break him off. What you mean we got to break him off? We got to give him a portion of it. No. I didn't give it to him, no. They gave it up. You know what I mean? But I didn't. You know what I mean? It was like, nah. They gave him the weed, out of the little liquid robbery, may supposedly break him off out of there. I'm not breaking nobody off. If I go rob something, it's mine. I see. So somebody wanted to give KK a little bit of the weed. It ain't the fact of the matter of just giving it. It's the fact of the matter, it was some rule that was spoken to. The fact of the matter that when they did things, they had to break off a cut, which was like, what? Like, no. Thank you very much, sir. Other cross? Redirect?